On March 11, 2011, the seafloor off the coast of Japan moved 50 meters in 3 minutes. The rupture displaced 500 cubic kilometers of ocean. The wave that followed crossed Japan's coastline in 30 minutes. It was not a single wave. It was a moving wall of black water, in some places 40 meters tall. The kind of force that doesn't destroy buildings so much as erase them. Entire towns, entire neighborhoods, entire fishing ports, gone in minutes. When the water finally receded, 18,000 people were dead or missing. The world's largest breakwater, a $1.6 billion structure in the harbor of Kamaishi, had been destroyed in seconds. Not from the front, water had crested it, eroded the back face, and pulled the foundation out from underneath. It fell inward. Every engineer in Japan took notice. And then Japan made a decision. It would build the largest coastal defense structure in human history. 400 kilometers of seawall running the entire length of its northeast coast. The final cost, over $12 billion. The construction timeline, a decade. And when it was finished, a growing number of engineers began saying the same uncomfortable thing. If it fails, the next tsunami could be more deadly than the last one. What happened in 2011? To understand what Japan built, you first have to understand what 2011 actually revealed. Japan had seawalls before the tsunami. It had been building coastal defenses for decades. The walls were considered substantial by any engineering standard of the time. Tall, reinforced, designed from historical wave data and engineering models. On March 11th, 90% of them failed, not because they were poorly built, because the wave was 40 meters tall. No wall designed to withstand historical tsunamis is designed for a wave that height. The historical record didn't contain one. In every case, the failure mode was the same: overtopping. When water crests a wall, it hits the landward side, the face that was never engineered to absorb impact. The backwash then pulls the foundation material out from beneath. The wall that was supposed to protect the town falls into the town. There was one exception. The small village of Fudai, located further up the coast, had been protected since 1984 by a wall that its mayor, a man who had lived through a previous tsunami in 1933, had insisted on building to 15 meters despite enormous opposition from the government, which considered it excessive and wasteful. It was the tallest coastal wall in Japan at the time. On March 11, 2011, the wave crested it by just a few meters. But the structure held. The foundation held. Everyone in Fudai survived. Japan had its blueprint. What they decided to build the Great Seawall of Japan, formerly the Tohoku Seawall, runs 400 kilometers along the Pacific coast of the Tohoku region. The average height is 12 meters. In exposed areas, headlands where wave energy concentrates, sections rise to 14 meters above ground. And what most people don't realize, most of the structure is underground. The visible wall is approximately 14 meters. The foundation below the waterline extends 25 meters into the seabed. The wall is not a single structure. It is 440 separate sections, built by 440 separate contractors simultaneously, because the construction deadline allowed no other approach. The 2022 target required the entire 400 kilometers to be sealed essentially at once. If any single contractor went bankrupt mid-construction, a gap would open in the wall. Zero tolerance. The engineering beneath the surface is what makes this structure extraordinary, and what makes it different from the walls that failed. Geotechnical surveys of every section before construction began. 3 different foundation types: soft clay, dense sand, hard rock, each requiring completely different engineering below the waterline. divers guiding 5-ton boulders into position in the active surf zone, sonar verification because no engineer could see what the divers were placing, filter layers between rubble and fill to prevent the wall from slowly bleeding away into the sea. Every section monitored by embedded sensors, engineers watching the wall breathe and settle daily, permanently. The engineering in detail. The face panels on the seawall, each one weighing 7 tons, are cast in controlled factory conditions and tested individually before installation. Each panel is tapped with a rod during quality inspection. A solid ring means the concrete is good. A hollow sound means the panel is crushed. A panel worth $800 gets destroyed without hesitation because zero tolerance is not a slogan. It is the engineering requirement for a structure that must hold for 100 years against a force that destroyed its predecessors in seconds. Where the wall meets river mouths and coastal roads, floodgates are installed, 443 of them along the 400-kilometer structure. Each gate must seal within 70 seconds of an earthquake alarm triggering. Not because engineers decided 70 seconds was a reasonable engineering target. Because 70 seconds is the actual window between ground motion and wave arrival on this coastline. The gates operate on gravity. If the power fails, as power fails during earthquakes, the gate closes anyway. A 22-meter steel curtain drops by its own weight and seals the gap. One command room in Tokyo monitors all 443 gates simultaneously. One screen, every sensor, every alarm. Japan drills the closure sequence every year on March 11th. The cost. The wall changed the coastline permanently. Before 2011, most of the fishing towns of the Tohoku region had unobstructed ocean views. The Pacific was visible from homes, from roads, from the streets where people had grown up. The sea was the economy, the identity, the landscape these communities had been organized around for centuries. The seawall is between 10 and 15 meters tall. From most of these towns, you can no longer see the ocean. Fishermen who used to read the weather by watching the water have lost that view entirely. Children growing up in these towns have never seen the Pacific from their front windows. Some towns voted to accept the wall. Some voted to reject it. Several communities refused construction and chose to relocate entirely to higher ground rather than live behind concrete. In some places, the wall consumed agricultural land. In others, it divided fishing ports from the towns they served, requiring entirely new road infrastructure to reconnect them. And there is a deeper problem that engineers openly discuss. The wall changes behavior. Multiple studies of coastal defenses around the world, particularly in the Netherlands and the United States, have documented the same phenomenon. When populations believe they are protected by a barrier, they rebuild closer to the threat, not farther from it. If a future tsunami overtops or breaches a section of the Tohoku Wall, the people sheltering behind it may have less time to evacuate than they would have had with no wall at all. The argument against it. The engineering criticism of the Tohoku seawall is not that it was built badly. The criticism is that it was built at all, or at least that it was built as the primary defense rather than as a last resort. Japan's traditional coastal safety culture was built on two principles: warning systems and evacuation. Coastal communities practiced drills. People knew exactly which routes led to high ground and how long they had to get there. The expectation was not that a wall would protect them. It was that they would recognize the danger and move. That culture produced the extraordinary scenes documented after the 2011 tsunami. Entire school populations successfully evacuated because teachers knew the plan and children knew to follow. Entire neighborhoods that reached high ground because the evacuation route was practiced and clear. The Tohoku seawall may weaken that culture. If residents believe the wall will protect them, they may not evacuate when the alarm sounds. They may wait. They may decide the wall is enough. Multiple Japanese geologists and tsunami researchers have made this argument publicly. The 2011 wave, they point out, was the largest in recorded Japanese history by a significant margin. A future event of comparable scale will overtop the wall. The question is not whether that will happen. The question is whether the people behind the wall will still know to run. The wall is finished now. All 400 kilometers, 443 floodgates, sensors embedded in every section, watched daily from a single command room in Tokyo. People cycle along the top of it now. They walk their dogs on the promenade built into the crown. They run along the path every morning. The wall has become part of the daily life of these coastal towns. A presence so large and so permanent that it is simply the new geography. In the places where it blocked the ocean entirely, some residents say they have stopped feeling like they live on the coast at all. Engineers who built it say it is the most precisely constructed coastal defense structure in human history. They are probably right, but geologists who study tsunamis say that the 2011 event was not the historical maximum, that the recorded history of this coastline contains evidence of waves larger than what 2011 produced. Japan built the wall in response to what happened, not in preparation for what could. The tetrapods dissipate wave energy. The sensors track settlement. The gates close in 70 seconds by gravity. And somewhere, a generation of children is growing up behind it. Children who have never seen the Pacific Ocean from their front windows, who have never been taught to read the sea the way their grandparents could, who have been told that the wall will protect them. The engineering is extraordinary. The question it leaves unanswered is human.